Okay, so this is my full review of the all-new Google Pixel 6a. We are going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's go ahead and jump in. The Pixel 6a, for those of you who don't know, this is kind of a lighter version of the regular Pixel 6 and an even lighter version of the Pixel 6 Pro. And as you can see, it looks just like the Pixel 6 and the Pixel 6 Pro. They share tons of similarities, not only in terms of look, obviously the form factor is different here because it's a smaller phone, but in terms of look, but also in internals with that Tensor chip, right? So on the inside, it is actually a flagship phone, right? I would say kind of, but it's not just kind of, it is a flagship phone in terms of the performance that will be offered on this phone. It looks just like the Pixel 6 and the 6 Pro, obviously because you have that bar, right? That camera bar on the back there, the same one that you find on the 6 and the 6 Pro, except over here, it is not as pronounced. It has a pretty subtle and, a slimmer look to go very well with that form factor because like I mentioned, it's a smaller phone. So the form factor here, for those with just average size hand, would be just perfect. It stands at 6.1 inches. So again, not necessarily gigantic, but it stands pretty tall, right? And I like the corners because they feel a little bit sharp so that it can kind of really dig in your hand to kind of give you enough grip. Now, with that, you get that premium look that you normally get from the Pixel 6 and the Pixel 6 Pro, which is already good, right? For a budget or mid-range, depending on where you think this phone should be. So you get that premium look and feel in terms of just the physical features. You get the same physical features, power button, all of that good stuff, USB Type-C port, and as always, of course, you do not get the option to expand the internal storage, right? So this one is 128 gigs. That's pretty much it. That's all you can get. You cannot expand this to go beyond that. You also get, of course, your SIM tray on the side there, and that's pretty much it as far as the physical features go. And even with that being said, we do still have some additional features that I want to highlight here, like the IPS67 support, right? Meaning that the phone will offer dust and water resistance at up to 1 meter for about 30 minutes. You also get a fingerprint sensor here, which unlocks the phone pretty well. And I do know that it was also part of the controversy where people were saying that they, fingerprint sensor wasn't working, but on mine it works pretty well as long as you're patient, right? This is not like an ultrasonic or a physical fingerprint sensor where as soon as you touch it, it just opens, right? This, it will still take its time, but it would open, like you would see, and I've shown this quite a few times already. It works. Every now and then, I might touch it and it might take, it might struggle a little bit for a second, but then it will go, but it's really not frequent. Depending on how you position your finger, maybe because it didn't read part of your finger very well. So you get that here also. And again, I think it's absolutely normal. It's a mid-range or budget phone, so you should not be expecting the world from this phone. And by the way, please don't forget to hit both the like and the subscribe button there. I truly appreciate that. All right, so the phone itself is offered in 3 different variants. Right? So you have this one right here. This is the chalk variant, and then you have the sage variant and also the charcoal. I should imagine these are the special names that Google tends to give these phones. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into my experience using this phone. In terms of user experience, I want to start off with performance. Performance is absolutely fantastic on here. It's not anything less than I had expected from the Tensor chip. I'm going to say that it does do a lot of work in a way where the phone tends to be warm every now and then, especially when you're doing too much. You can feel the phone getting warm. Now, I'm not sure if it's because I'm still, within that first couple of weeks of playing with the phone and it's still trying to figure out, to figure things out. I did make a video telling you that, during the first few days of the phone, of using the phone, generally with these manufacturers, the chip there is working, it's on overdrive pretty much, working and overworking, trying to figure out the type of user that you are so that in the future it can be a lot more optimized to your type of usage. So I'm not sure if that's the reason I'm getting this thing to get warm every now and then, especially when I'm doing different things and I'm doing things that are kind of like, heavy tasks. But other than that, it has not affected, just the performance itself. It's still very, very flawless, very seamless. And as you know, well, if you don't know, Google Pixel phones have some of the best animations here. The way they flow, because obviously it's native. Android is pretty much them. So it is extremely fluid. Navigation, no issue there. Animation, fantastic here. Haptic feedback, also very, very good. So just a couple of things that I wanted to bring there. In terms of gaming, if you buy this phone for gaming, you also have to keep in mind that's a smaller phone, right? Now, maybe it's because I have large hands, but gaming also on here, no issues there. I've done a little bit of multitasking. It seems to work very well as well. Now, one of the things that people were complaining about was just the refresh rate, 60 hertz here. This is a mid-range or budget phone, so 60 hertz should not surprise people. 60 hertz here works well. I do have a number of other phones, like the iPhone that I have here, or my S22, or even my Fold. and those phones can go up to 120 hertz. If I go directly from using those phones to using this one, obviously I can notice the difference in terms of the way the scrolling goes. I can notice that, this is a little bit choppy, or it's choppier compared to that. Not that it's choppy generally. So if you're just buying this phone, and that's going to be the only phone that you buy, you won't notice anything. It's just going to work like a regular phone. 60 hertz is just going to be very good, a good level of refresh rate for you. And with that being said, I don't anticipate that a lot of people who will be buying the Pixel 6a here are also planning on buying an iPhone 13 Pro Max or S22 Ultra to have it side by side. Or if there are people like that, I don't anticipate that there's a lot of us. I mean, a lot of you, right? Most people who buy this phone are people looking for just a mid-range phone or a budget phone, and they're not planning on buying another phone so that they can constantly compare to see which one is better. So bottom line, if you're buying this phone, you don't have to worry about 60 hertz refresh rate. It works just fine. Now let's go ahead and talk camera here. Top notch. Very, very good camera, especially with skin tone. Now, I've taken pictures. I try to not put my family out there, but taking pictures of my kids, my wife, and myself, it really works so very well on skin tone. That post processing, I did make a video on skin tone with when taking pictures with the Pixel phones. I did make one on the Pixel 6 Pro, and that one highlighted the way that post-processing really takes care of skin tone. This one does very well. And with that being said, and considering that this is a budget phone, it takes better pictures than a lot of flagship phones out there. Meaning, in the world of budget phones, I can't see any budget phone that could compare to this when it comes down to camera. So if camera is your number one thing when looking for a mid-range or budget phone, this is the phone to go for without hesitation. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is just the overheating situation here. This phone does overheat depending on the situation you're in, right? Google, of course, when they do their testing, these are pretty controlled, environment. But once you take it and you're out there in the real world, now if where you are, it's as hot as it is here, well, at least last week, we were coming pretty close to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Because it was so hot and I had the phone outside and I was testing the phones, taking videos after videos after videos, I noticed that as I was coming close to 10 minutes, I would get the message saying that it was too hot. So the phone overheats if you are in a situation of extreme heat, right? So you have to keep that in mind. Now, my take is that Google is probably going to work on something. They're probably going to do something. They're going to send out an update to try to work some of those, those quirks out. But as of now, just keep in mind that it might overheat depending on how hot it is. And I know it dropped in India, so a lot of people in India are going to be considering this phone. And because, it's fairly hot in India also, at least from what I know. So if you're in India, that's also something to consider right now while waiting for Google to go ahead and drop the update that's going to fix it. I'm pretty sure they will, because they did something for the Pixel 5a, 5G, I believe, when it came out. The overheating issue, they fixed that. So I'm assuming they're going to do the same with this guy. So something to just keep in mind here. Now, other than that, everything else is good. In terms of battery, it's still figuring out my battery, but so far I'm getting pretty decent battery for something this size. And I can tell you that one thing I absolutely love about this phone is standby time here is very, very good when it comes down to battery. The display on this phone is fantastic. It's an OLED display, of course. Picture quality, pictures are pretty sharp because, as you would imagine, it's a smaller form factor, and PPI here is pretty compact, right? So the quality is very, very sharp, and the colors are pretty vibrant. And because an OLED display, you get those inky blacks and inky reds. And that's pretty much it for my review of the Google Pixel 6a here. I will continue to test this phone, and I'm also planning on making a video dedicated just to camera. So look forward to that. And again, if you want to go ahead and order the phone, you can either hit the link in the description, or you could check out your local Best Buy or whatever the case may be and pick up one from there. And that's pretty much it for this review here. Let me know what any questions you may have about this phone. Comments if you ordered one, or if you have anything that you want to add. I want to catch you in the comment section about that, so we can get that little back and forth going. Make sure to share the video if you know anyone who would be interested. Don't forget to like, comment, of course. I will catch you in the next video, of course. As always, up until that next video, stay safe out there.